Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 39. And today I'm particularly pumped because we have got Tracy Pericy on the show. And this is going to be really, really powerful because it's about how you can automate your follow-up. So if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll know that I'm particularly big on follow-up. It blows me away how many people don't do it well. And I recently met Tracy at a masterminding event that we were both involved with, and we've been talking a lot about this whole idea of automating follow-up. And so particularly pumped to have Tracy on the show. But first, if you have got lead flow and you are looking to convert more of those leads into paying clients, head over to johnblakeaudio.com and get your free audio training where I show you the exact strategy that I used, that I work with clients on to double the amount of conversions that they get from the lead flow that they already have. So this is the same strategy that I teach my high ticket clients when I work with them over a 12-month period, and it delivers consistent results. Once you've got it in there, it'll work. So head over to johnblakeaudio.com, download the audio training, get the PDF companion guide. It's got the exact follow-up templates, the phone scripts, and the framework that you need to use over an 8-week period to consistently communicate with your clients in a way that won't annoy them, but will maximize your conversions. So head over there and grab that and, put that to use straight away. Okay, so we've got Tracy Pericy on the show this morning, and I'm particularly excited. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, John.
Now, I've got a couple of, I know that you specialize in lead generation. I know that you've got a successful background in business, but can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself as it relates to our conversation today around automating follow-up?
Okay, great. Let me work. So how far back are we going on this?
Well, you probably don't need to go back to primary school.
Right. Okay. Because I was gonna ask if you wanted to know about my whole birth story, but we won't go that far back.
No.
So, well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Really appreciate it. I have been a listener and love your message and what you say, and it's so in line with my own beliefs around business and customer service and growing a business and then automating all that stuff that you talk about. So thank you, John.
Pleasure. Awesome.
I started in business probably in my mid-20s because I hate being told what to do. So I've grown up scared of authority, yet not really like being told what to do at all. So having a job never really worked for me. I started in working in the legal profession as a legal secretary, and didn't work for me. So went into business at around my mid to late 30s. Started in the whole party plan thing was my little jump into business. And it wasn't long before I started listening to Robert Kiyosaki back, 25 years ago. And I loved everything he had to say. Then got into property investing. So my very first business was in property investing, and went on to buy multiple properties and make some great coin out of that. And it was like, now I want a real business. So within a couple of year period, we'd bought about 13 properties.
Oh, wow.
And then, it was lots of fun. We did lots of different strategies back in the day, and then wanted to go into a real business. So started, looking for a business that I was having babies. I've got 4 children and needed something that I could work around the kids. But
certainly did.
Certainly did. Yeah, and we had some criteria, and there was nothing we could see that we wanted to buy. So eventually we raised nearly $1 million, and we had some of our own money, and we ended up, my mum and dad also invested because they were looking at doing something else. And we started one of Victoria's largest indoor play centres and cafes.
Cool.
So that was lots of fun. I had the kids at work with us. I was, in labour with my fourth child, serving customers.
Oh, no.
Contractions got to the point where I said to my husband, too much pain, hospital now, pain relief. And then back a week later. So I do love business. And it was in that business that I cut my teeth on direct response marketing.
Yep.
From the old greats, Dan Kennedy and, all those old direct response marketers, Jay, all those sorts of people. So, yeah, that became, that business was very successful, won lots of business awards, and people were noticing my marketing and would ask me to come and speak at Chamber of Events and lots of different, business events. So I started speaking, and it was after that business that I had that business for about 10 years, then went into what I'm doing now, which is the lead gen.
Got it.
And then from the lead gen, it was driving me nuts that I was generating all these leads and my clients weren't converting them. So having come from small business where every cent counts, I could see that there was a disconnect between where we're generating the leads and inquiries and then the conversion side isn't happening, which led me down the path of I actually really care about my clients' results, not just what I do for them, but what happens in the rest of their business and how much revenue they create.
Yeah.
So,
Got it. Yeah, because we, in that regard, you and I are very similar. I help people with their conversions, and I'm helping them with that bit that takes place right from the very second that the lead comes in. But the thing that really interested me about what you do is the automation part of it, which I have done a little bit of, and I have an understanding about what can and can't work in that regard. But after talking to you and how you had implemented that successfully for a number of different businesses, I was like, whoa, okay, we need to talk about this. And even better to get you on to to share with the listeners. So in terms of the mistakes that you see people making, what you said it drove you mad. What was it that was the two or three things that you were noticing around how your clients were treating or managing the leads that you were generating for them?
I think the first thing was that there was no real follow-up system in place. So they would maybe try calling once and texting once. And I mean, I had a couple of email follow-ups in place.
Yep.
But I suppose I assumed, wrongly so,
yep,
that they had a system in place for calling the leads, and most of the time the receptionist can do that.
Yep.
With no real system of follow-up. So that's the first mistake that I was seeing, that there was no system in place to make sure that there was an opportunity to create meaningful conversations.
Yep. Yep. And that's, certainly consistent with my experience as well. They try once or twice to get a hold of a lead, and if it's an employee and, they're not watching their credit card statement every month that shows $4,500 that's being debited from Google AdWords.
Yes.
They're like, oh yeah, no, they weren't there. It's like, oh, how many times you try and ring them? Once. What happened? I got voicemail. It's like, well, are you aware that 87% of telephone calls go through to voicemail?
Yes.
Were you thinking that there might be another opportunity to get a hold of them?
Yeah, well, I used to make sure that not only did the leads go through to their CRM, that also it would go to a shared spreadsheet.
Yep.
Because I wanted to know what they were doing. And even then, most of the time the spreadsheet wasn't being filled out. So it was even hard for me to know whether they were actually contacting them in a timely and effective manner. But you're right. The problem for employees is completely different to what the problem is for the owner of the business. So the employee, of course, they're going to have all these psychological things going on, like they're not answering, it's a shit lead. They don't really want to hear from us. So as human beings, they've got all this stuff, this head talk that's in the way that stops them from continually trying to reach out. when in actual fact, that's just a story that person has created, but maybe the person's busy,
Totally. Like I encounter this time and time and time again. I mean, the internal dialogue for a salesperson is, I feel like I'm annoying them. I don't want to be perceived as a pushy salesperson. And
Yes.
it's like, you know what? This is what, and I say this all the time. I go, this is what this sounds like. Okay. So your potential client is going to have a conversation with one of the people in their network. It could be a friend or another business person, and they're going to say, and they're going to be talking, and the other person that they're talking to is going to say, "Oh, we just bought a new garage door," or whatever it was that they were inquiring about, and the other person's going to go, "All right, who'd you go with?" And they're going to go, "Oh, we went with Smith, quality garage doors," and they're going to go, "Oh yeah, no, we inquired with them, but we never heard from anyone."
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. And it's so there's a couple of things. There's the first one is most people don't check voicemail, or that, I don't know whether what most is, but a good percentage, probably more than maybe 50% of
I
people.
don't. Do you check yours? Because I don't even. I switch mine off because I know I don't check it.
I do check my voicemail, but I realise that I'm probably in the minority of people that do. So firstly, people don't check voicemail. If they do check their voicemail, they'll probably forget. And then there's this thing that kicks in called revisionist history. And revisionist history says that even if your sales guy did the right thing and rang that person 3 times, the person who is having that conversation at the barbecue is just not going to remember it like that. You know what I mean? And it's just, we live in this world. I call it contact fragmentation. So you think about it, like 50, 100 years ago, like if you wanted to get a hold of someone, you had 2 options. You could write them a letter, like type a letter and put it in the mail, or you could call them. And now, it's like you look at all the different ways you can get a hold of someone. You can send them a text message. You can send them a messenger message on Facebook. You can send them a message on LinkedIn. You can send them a message on Snapchat. You can send them a message on WhatsApp. You can send them a text message. You can, it's like,
and we all know that too. So think about it yourself. Even when I opt into someone's funnel for something, and I get really, really busy, and I don't respond to the first or second or third message, I'm like, oh, that's cool. They've probably got a follow-up thing in place. So I will get to that. And it's not that I don't want to. I just get busy, and we know, or we wrongly assume, that business will keep following us up until they get a hold of us. And most businesses don't have an automated system in place to do that.
No. And I often talk about the it's like the list of priorities.
Yes.
So today, and let's just use garage doors because it's just easy, right? So today, so for a non-urgent purchase, right? Today, getting in the context of everything that's happening in my world, and this is the same for business to business, it's like, it doesn't matter, in the context of everything else that's happening in my world, getting my garage door replaced or getting one put in is a priority today. But in 2 days' time, I could get a truckload of inquiry and be absolutely swamped with getting back to all the people that have inquired. I could have something happen in my family. I could have a medical emergency. I mean, that list is endless. There are endless numbers of reasons. So there's that. There's the shifting sands of people's priorities in their world, and then the second
sands
thing
of their life. You're so completely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then the second one is what's called the law of diminishing intent. And the law of diminishing intent says that today it's a priority, but the further I get away from today into the future, the more that the intensity of that priority is going to diminish.
Yes. Yep. Well, I mean, you think about it yourself. If you're thinking about making a purchase, there's that old rule to minimise impulse shopping.
Yep.
Wait 24 hours and see
Yeah.
if you need it as much, and it works
It
from
does.
a spending point of view. So it has to work from the diminishing rate of importance.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So there's all sorts of different things, pitfalls that people can fall into around how they treat leads. And unfortunately, the longer you leave communicating with a new inquiry, it's not like red wine; it doesn't get better.
Yeah, exactly. Like the rate of the coldness of that lead, minute by minute, exponentially dies. So
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And just going back to that that point on like assuming that someone doesn't want to hear from us. Just a stat there that comes to my head is 14% of people want a company to chase them up for as long as it takes to get them.
Wow, that's interesting.
You're not going to know what that 14% is. So 14 out of every 100 people want you to keep chasing them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's why I say with my clients, we're going to follow them up until they either buy or tell us to rack off. You've spent the money on generating that lead. And we don't do it in a pushy, nasty, salesy way. Like as you say in all of your podcasts, it's about being soft, and it's about, just for me, I position it as in, let's just keep trying to create the opportunity for a conversation. Doesn't mean someone can't say no, but let's create the opportunity for conversation, because it's conversation that then has us create sales and everything else we want in our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about the 3 Ps, and sometimes I mention the 4th P, right? So the 3 Ps are being professional, proactive, and persistent. And the 4th P is not pissing people off.
Yeah, I like that one. But hey, sometimes you do, and it's not your intention to, and we should never fear that, because sometimes it just happens. Someone's having a bad day, right? It's got nothing to do with you. So we do, but maybe they were never going to be your customer or your client anyway.
Maybe not.
It's a great way to find out who is not going to be your customer, so we can stop wasting time on it.
That's it. And a no, I say a no is infinitely better than a maybe. You can take a no. You can take a no to the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can take
So
a no to the
true.
bank. It's like, okay, well, I know that for every $100,000 I spend, I'm going to get, let's just keep the math simple because I'm not a mathlete, right? So for every $100,000 I spend, I'm going to get 100 leads, and I know that 50% of those leads are going to convert into a paying client, and 50% of people are not going to convert into a paying client.
Yes.
You can take that maths and you can scale that maths.
Yep.
You can grow, you can invest, you can hire people. And that's what I encourage people to do. I go, get some clarity on your numbers, because because you can shovel so much more coal onto that fire. I mean, that's probably not the politically correct thing to say. You know what I mean?
You can blow some more wind that you can huff and puff.
You can, Yeah. I was going to say you can put some more petrol into that vehicle, but then that wouldn't have been very politically correct either.
Yeah.
So look, I think we've covered the mistakes people make, the misconceptions that people have around follow-up pretty adequately. So in terms of putting together an automated follow-up process, what are the 3 most important things to keep in mind?
I would think it's having a platform that's easy to use, because everyone knows what it's like. There's so much software out there. I'm using an all-in-one platform now, but I used to patchwork together a few different bits of software for my clients.
Yep.
But it's having something that's easy to use, because there's no point in going out and buying software that has all the bells and whistles and looks amazing, it's exy, but you can see how it's going to make life easy for you if it's too hard to actually go and implement in your business.
Yep.
So that would be one of the three. What were we talking about again? I got so excited.
The three most important things to keep in mind. When you're putting together an automated follow-up system. So the first one is platform. Totally agree.
Yep.
If it's too, if it's too prohibitive, in my mind, it's like, okay, well, it can be too complicated to use. You need to, duct tape this piece of software onto this piece of software, and there needs to be a link to make this thingo fire, and maybe that won't work. And then if it's not reliable, it's like, okay, well, what's the impact if something goes wrong? Well, if the impact of something goes wrong, it's like someone's become a paying client, and then suddenly they're still getting your automated follow-ups that they thought
shouldn't be getting.
that they thought were actually coming from a real human being, but they actually in actual fact they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So that can be a drama. I totally agree. The platform needs to work, and it needs to be simple to use. What else do people need to keep in mind?
That they actually need to implement. For any of this stuff to work, you've got to actually do it.
Yep.
You have to commit to doing it. It's no different to going to a conference and making sure you take one thing away and implement it in your business. Going to the conference and taking in all the information does not help your business grow or change, or it's all well and good to listen to it, but unless you actually implement, it makes no change to your business. So having something that's easy to use that you actually can implement in your business. And then if it's not you, really as business owners, what's the highest and best use of our time? Where should we be spending our time? Is it sitting behind the computer, putting in a follow-up system in place? Or is it having someone else do it for us? If it is you, then great. Just make sure you implement it. If it's not, then find someone who can do it for you. And there's lots of different places you can find people to help you put automations in place to help with a follow-up system. And then don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah.
I know that's a little fourth one there, but I do speak to a lot of people who say, we don't want to upset people.
No.
You're not upsetting anyone now because you're not actually following them up at all.
Yeah, that's it. And if you can make it conversational, that's the, in the messaging that I, put together, which is at the moment I'm helping people to implement that manually. It's very conversational. It's, that the language has been wordsmithed extremely thoughtfully to make sure that there's nothing in there that's going to trigger, any kind of
fear or push them away or
again, it's those 3 P's, be professional, be persistent, and be proactive,
Yes.
And then someone has taken the time to inquire about your product or service, and knowing that at least 50% of people who inquire are going to make a buying decision. They're going to buy from someone within 18 months. And that can, be higher or lower depending on what industry. But I've proved this across so many different industries. It's not funny. But, half the people who inquire are going to purchase within 18 months for a non-urgent purchase. So why would you assume, because 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up.
Yes.
So why would you assume a no when someone actually put their hand up, and that 50% of people are going to buy within 18 months, and then there's probably more people that are going to buy beyond 18 months.
Yes.
Yes. My favourite story around this is a friend of mine who moved. She was a journo. She moved back from Sydney, and she took over her family business, which was they sold fireplaces. And her dad ran the business. He died very, very suddenly, very tragically. And her mum had been running this business for like 3 years or something, 3 or 4 years since her dad passed away. And she moved back from Sydney and she took over running the family business. And so, she's in there first couple of months, sort of getting to know everything. And she spots this filing cabinet And she says, what's in that filing cabinet? And someone goes, oh, yeah, they're all the quotes we've done over the last 4 years. And she said, has anyone actually sort of, rung them up and I think the first question was, well, how many of them have bought? And they're like, oh, not sure. It's like, oh, okay. Well, typically out of every 10 people that inquire, how many buy? Oh, 1 or 2. Right. So you've got 4 years of quotes sitting in that filing cabinet. Have they been followed up? No, I don't think so. So she gets on the phone, and it took her a good 3 months, I think, to ring every single person. There were people in there that inquired 2 years ago, 3 years ago. She just rang them up and said, I've got a quote here for you. I don't know whether anyone ever came back to you. I just thought I'd give you a call and see if you're interested in going ahead. And all these people were like, yeah, no, we definitely do want to go ahead with that. And so
I
like
love
60
that.
grand or something, like just ridiculous.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And imagine if she didn't have to manually make all those calls, like if we had a system that could do that for her.
Yeah.
Imagine, right?
Which is what really excites me about this particular possibility, because the system combines email, it combines voicemail, which is pretty cool. Text.
Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
So you've that whole
phone calls.
Yeah. So it covers that whole gamut of communication.
Yep.
And through, so how many clients have you done this for now?
Probably about 5 or 6. I've implemented this automated system and in a couple of different industries.
Yeah.
And there's just one that I love. I said to them, give me, all your cold leads, cold dead, because his team goes, nah, they're cold, they're dead.
Yeah.
I said, give them to me. Can I have a play with that, please?
Yeah.
And yeah, we are getting a 50% response rate from cold, dead, old leads. So I just put them through my system and 50% response rate. So it's so much fun. It's so much fun because it's like, oh my gosh, we can make some money here without spending any more. You've already spent the money.
Well, I did a reactivation campaign, but it was just email the other day for a client, and we only sent it out to a sample of his database, and he's in the wellness sort of medical field. And after about 2 hours, they'd had so it went to 370 people. They had a 40% open rate. So what's that? Roughly 150, maybe 160 people opened it.
You said you weren't a mathematician. That sounded pretty good to me. I would your numbers there.
And within 2 hours, they'd had 15 responses. People who had done nothing, who had been followed up, and 15 responses within 2 hours, and but I can guarantee you she would have got a whole stack more. It's pretty good going from 160 opens.
So imagine doing that for a business with a sales team who maybe, like they've been trying to call leads and nothing's happening. Imagine doing something like that for a sales team where they've got people who are reactivated and ready to go. Like, what does that do for the morale and the culture of, the guys on the front line making the sales? Like, imagine that.
That's what excites me.
Having your team have some wins, like that's cool.
That's what excites me, the most about this. Like I'm, in the process of being able to, obviously through the conversations that you and I are having, is being able to go back to all these people I've worked with, and I've, been giving them what to say and what to write and how often to write, and giving them how to do all that manually. But being able to help these people to implement the system that I've put in place with them on autopilot is just, it just lights me up. It's so good. And I'd seen this, I've been looking at it and I've been going, I'm kind of good to that. But, you're really the first person in Australia that I could sort of see that was doing this and actually, creating a result with it. So, it's pretty awesome. So
we were meant to meet.
I know.
Destiny, universe, bringing us together.
Yeah. So
when I saw what you do, I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's, same, twins.
Exactly. So, so all this stuff, it all exists in timing. It all exists in language, and obviously the language needs to be contextual to the industry and the relationship and all that sort of stuff. And so all that nuance is all, built in with the stuff I'm already doing. And what we're going to be able to do is to make it hands-free, which is so cool.
Yes.
So, so if people, want to get in touch with you, Tracy, what should they do?
I think the best place to probably contact me would be on Facebook. I do have a couple of websites, but I think the best place to reach out to me is on Facebook. And
Cool.
I spell my name in the most awesomest of ways. Would you like me to spell it for you? Well, look, Mum and Dad did it. Back to that birth story when I was born, but So it's Tracy with an IE, Tracie, and then my surname is Pericy, Parisi, which is really just Paris with an I on the end.
Oh, there you go. That's easy to remember.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. Brilliant.
So yes.
Awesome.
I'd love to have a chat with anyone and, even if it's just to help them out with some ideas. I'm always up for blowing the business breeze.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on with us. I'm sure that we can probably, get you back on, once we've got some case studies and we can sort of talk about, some of the wins that we're going to be able to create through having all this in place for people.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome. Chat to you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, John.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker's Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies to maximize your sales process with new episodes every week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive free no-fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.